Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Rikki here, and I'm so excited. I'm going to be showing you guys my everyday soft glam makeup look. It's very simple. It honestly takes me at most 15 minutes to do my makeup. A lot of the techniques that I'm using, I have been taught via TikTok. I've known how to do my makeup since I was literally, like 15 years old, but there's the small little changes that you make in your routine that really make or break your look. If you're interested in any of the products that I use in today's video, make sure to click the description box. I have a detailed list of everything that I'm using along with the shades. A good makeup routine is dependent upon what type of products you splurge on. You definitely should be splurging on things like your makeup brushes because application is key. That's what's going to make or break the entire look, okay? I would also say you definitely should be investing in a really good setting powder, blush, and your brushes. Those are the top 3 things that I have found that have really changed the game for me. Now, I was going to say primers are another thing that you should be investing in, but there are tons of dupes for really good primers. Elf Cosmetics has a really good dupe for the Milk Makeup Hydrogrip primer that everyone loves to use. I personally used it for a very long time, but I actually don't use a primer these days. I use powder as my primer, and it works very, very well for me. My makeup lasts ultra long, and it looks so good. So the very first step is hydration. You want to make sure that you have a really flawless base. I really love the Tatcha moisturizer. There's tons of other ones that are very cheap. You can use an e.l.f. moisturizer. You can even use Vaseline. Whatever works for you, just make sure you have a very smooth base, because if you have drier skin, you don't want your makeup and specifically any powder catching onto your dry patches. And I'm going to be taking my Onesize loose setting powder, and I'm just going to take a little bit of this and apply it everywhere in my T-zones, because guys, this is really what's going to make your makeup last all day. It's going to be flawless and it's going to look so good. I like to bring it up under the eyes just so I have a very smooth and poreless foundation for all of my foundation and my concealer products that are going to be going on top of this. As you guys can probably already see, it's kind of mattified my skin. And don't be scared if you have dry skin, because guys, I have dry skin too. What I do is I make sure I blather on a really good layer of moisturizer before starting this, and then I go in with the powder, and it just creates the most flawless base. Just think of like when you're painting a new piece of furniture or even an old piece of furniture, right? And then you sand the furniture before you apply a new coat of paint. It's the same philosophy with this powder primer. You're laying down the foundation, you're sanding your skin, you're getting it right and ripe so that the product can stick right onto it. After that, I take my Dior foundation. I've had this for over a year, guys. Don't be afraid to splurge on items that you know are gonna last you a while. I wear makeup just about every day. Maybe it's because it's so full coverage, you really don't need that much. I really don't know what it is, but it's really great. I am in the shade 7in, and I just put 3 little dots around my head. I'm trying to be very careful because I'm sitting on my very favorite chair in my living room, and if I get any makeup on this, I'm literally gonna cry. I'm just taking my Morphe M6 foundation brush, and I'm going to be lightly stippling the product into my skin. Now with this sort of brush, it's not exactly a stippling brush. A stippling brush has longer bristles, but this is more of a flat round brush, and you're able to buff the product in and give yourself a very smooth base. It's very important that you invest in really great application tools. Just think about like when you're cooking, you don't want to use a cheap pan because that's going to burn your meat and give it a very unnatural flavor. So you want to make sure that you invest in your tools, right? So everything looks good. So if you want cheap results, buy cheap tools. If you want really great, flavorful, flawless, bomb results, invest. The great thing is like Morphe brushes are on the level of something like, I don't even know, because I am very cheap. I just know that it's up there with those products because my mom has those products and I use hers too, and my makeup looks just as good as hers. And she's using $60 brushes. So you're gonna make sure to blend it down to your neck a little bit. So now that we have our flawless base of foundation, I'm going to go into applying my concealer. The rule of thumb for applying a good base is always using 2 different shades of concealer. I use one that's closer to my skin tone and one that's slightly lighter so that I can not only build up the coverage but the lightness of my under eye. A lot of people like to go in immediately with a very light concealer, and it doesn't even conceal. It sits on top of the already discolored under eye, and it just looks really bad. And I used to be that girl. But since I've grown up and I've learned better and now I'm doing better, I'm making sure to use a concealer that's closer to my skin tone first to build up that lighter layer, and then I build in the second to lightest concealer to really build out that flawless, very light under eye. So we're first going to go into this. I like to dot it under my eye just so I make sure I'm not like putting on way too much product. And as you can see, with my face shape, I like to bring it down onto the tops of my cheeks. This way it's easier for me to drag the product right where I want to and blend it instead of having to drag it all the way from up here and down here in quick time, because I will tell you, this e.l.f. concealer dries down pretty quick, and that's not a bad thing. We want our concealer to dry down so that we can get a higher color payoff, because the coverage will be a lot better once it's dried down a little bit, because that's going to make sure that less product transfers over to your brush or your sponge, so you're making sure to get the actual wear that you want. The amateur mistake is to immediately apply the concealer and just start moving it around, and then you have no concealer under your eye and it still looks like foundation because you moved the product around too much. The sun is moving, and so I'm trying to make sure that it doesn't get me in it, but as you guys can see, I'm bringing it all the way down here, right? And I'm also going to put it on my chin right where I want it. I'm going to put it on the bridge of my nose right here, and the very tip of my nose right there, and I'm going to bring a little bit up here onto my forehead in between my brows just to highlight that area. Now I know some makeup artists will apply concealer right up under the bronzer and all that good stuff. I like to mess with this area with the product that's already on the brush so I can make sure I'm not putting way too much, because that can get crazy real fast, and especially for you beginners out there, I don't want you looking around like a ghost.
Don't do it.
So just make sure don't put any product there. You can apply it with the brush with the leftover product from once you've blended this out. We're going to take our lighter concealer. This is in the shade Tan Walnut. The shade that I used as my first layer was Deep Cinnamon. Now I'm going in with Tan Walnut, and I'm just going to put this in the very inner corner of my eye. The very inner corner, because that's the only place that I need it. Don't have to splurge on a brow product, because this is the type of product that you're gonna have to replenish all the time, right? So spending $5, $6 on this makes a lot more sense than spending $23 on a freaking eyebrow pencil that you're gonna replace in literally 2 weeks. So I go the cheap route. They all do the same thing, but I will say this is my absolute favorite. The color payoff is really great. It applies like butter, so it's really smooth and easy to make the light hair-like strokes that I want. And it's a great price point. First, we're going to brush the brow hairs up. It's something like a soft glam, and this is like the soft glam that most of the baddies have. Their brows are brushed up to give them a light laminated effect. First do that, and then I go up under the brow and I trace the line and the arch of my brow first, and then I go in and I do light hair-like strokes. I'm not just like filling it in. I do light hair-like strokes that go up and out to emulate the hairs, and then I lightly brush those out, and I continue up and around the brow. And once I get to the very arch at the top, I darken that up because I want that to be emphasized. I'm going to come towards the front and begin doing light hair-like strokes towards the front. Something like a soft glam, the key is to have a brow that looks done but also undone. It really emulates the effect of a laminated, freshly waxed brow. That's how I like to describe a soft glam brow. And I'm just going to take that darker concealer shade and bring that up under the eyebrow to carve it out. I only put just enough product. And I'm using a really small eyeshadow brush. I don't use an angled brush because I feel like those are too big. I use a very tiny foundation brush. You see how tiny this is? It's very, very tiny. I use that, and I go around the brow. And I take a little bit and I go around the edge of the brow. Again, giving it that freshly waxed effect. I don't bring the product all the way up and around because I don't want all of that to be highlighted. I just do just enough around the brow to give it that lightly waxed effect. And I'm so sorry if the lighting is getting weird. The sun is moving outside my apartment. I get golden hour. I love it. I'm blessed, but it's getting crazy. And I just like to lightly buff out the edges of the concealer I let this dry down just a little too long. You don't want it to be that long, but since I'm teaching you guys, it's dried down. But as you can see, it's dried down, it's not moving. Once you have all of your concealer blended out, you're going to immediately go in with your favorite setting powder. I like to use the Onesize to prep my face. And as of lately, I've been loving the Ben Nye Pretty in Pink setting powder. It's just such a really pretty color, especially since I use more of an orange undertone concealer. I like to bring it all back together with this pink pressed powder. I feel like it does my undertones justice because I have more of a red undertone. And so this brings me back to my true colors. It's also very brightening because it's pink. And I know a lot of the girlies like to use more of an orange pressed powder, but I find that that actually shows up and it looks really weird in pictures. I personally wore this over homecoming weekend and it made my makeup look so flawless. It lasted all night. I like to use this with a powder puff and I just put on just enough to set the makeup, and I go around and I'm going to set everything else with the remaining pressed powder that is on the puff. Be willing to take your time with this. There is no rush. Like, you want to make sure that everything in every crevice is set, especially around your smile lines. I know you guys can't see, but I can, and I hate that my brows, that concealer looks very bright. So I'm going in with a little bit of my foundation to clean them up. Don't be afraid to do this. Like, nobody's perfect. If you don't get it right the first time, you better get it right before you leave the house. I apologize, the lighting got crazy, so I had to readjust some things. But to show you guys all the steps that I did while I was gone, I had to use the Fenty Beauty Mocha Mami bronzer. Bronzer is that product that really just brings in that soft glam appearance. Otherwise, you look like a natural everyday makeup wearer, but when you take the bronzer and you add that into the shadows of your face, it really emphasizes the highlights as well as the shadows, and it gives you that really insta baddie sort of look. So you're gonna place it in the pockets of your face, and I say the pockets because this is a pocket of my face, right? This is like where there's a hollow. So if you go like that, that's where that hollow is. I like to think of it as like pushing my cheek up so that people can really see the high points of my cheeks and just, you know, admire them. So I'm just placing it there as well as around the crown of my head or my forehead or whatever. Bring it down a little bit so it doesn't look as large. Then you can place it right on the chin, anywhere you want to emphasize something else. So I want to emphasize the high point of this, I want to emphasize the high points of my cheeks, and I want to emphasize the high points of my forehead. And I also want to emphasize the high point of the bridge of my nose so that it can appear a little bit more narrow. Do the same thing with the bridge of your nose. You're just going to highlight it. Once you're done bronzing, you'll take a powder puff again. I go in with the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop powder. There's a Charlotte Tilbury one that is a brightening powder, but this is a great dupe for that. It gives you the same results. I haven't used the Charlotte Tilbury one. This is a far greater price point. So you're just gonna take it, and what I love about these powder puffs from Amazon that are linked to my storefront is that they are triangular, so they already have those straight edges. So when I go in and I'm trying to clean up that bronzer, it's so easy. I just go in, go up the nose, and it creates that straight line so that I don't have to worry about creating that shape for myself. Just go in with this powder. It's very brightening, it's very bright, so be wary. Especially if you are a lighter girl, it's gonna come up white, but don't be afraid of that because we want that so that we can emphasize this shadow work that we've done, you know? So we're gonna bring that up onto the high points of the cheeks, bring it down on the chin, and bring it down the very top of the bridge of the nose. You don't want to spread it too wide because the whole point is for us to give a narrower appearance to the nose. Once you have all of your high points highlighted with that very, very light pressed powder, you're going to go in with a pressed powder that is more of your shade. This is the Sephora MicroSmooth pressed powder. I am in the shade 60. This is very close to my skin tone, and that is exactly how I want it because I want to smooth out any fine lines or imperfections in the makeup and also set it in place so that it lasts all day. This also serves as a really great like transition shade between the very high points of my face and the rest of my foundation, so nothing looks very like stark and like crazy, you know. So we're gonna take a little bit of this on a brush like this. This is the Morphe M449. I'm just taking this and brushing it in all of these transitional places, dusting away that powder. I'm being very light-handed. Blend things out, make sure things are smooth and nothing has really harsh lines. Now for the best part, we're going to be lining the lips and doing the soft glam lip. This is a very nude, neutral tone lip that calls for a brown liner and any pink or nude tone gloss. Now, I love the NYX butter glosses. These are my favorite. A lot of the girlies use things like Fortune Cookie, Creme Brulee, and a few other shades like Toffee. I think that's one of them. I personally just like to keep it simple with a brown lip liner. This is the NYX Line Loud Pencil and the shade Rebel Kind. It's more of a brown purple nude color, but I really like it. I think it suits my shade range and it looks really flawless and gorgeous. And I like to use Creme Brulee on my lips. Now, if you really want that desired nude tone appearance, you can put a little bit of concealer on top of your lip. Go like that, and then go in with this pink tone Creme Brulee NYX Butter Gloss, and it will give you that same effect. Didn't film myself lining my lips because my camera cut off, but all you're gonna do is line your lips. I like to emphasize the Cupid's bow of my lip. My lip quite literally has no natural shape to it, so I just emphasize the Cupid's bow of my lip, but just stick to the natural line of your lip. Make it look a little bit fuller. If you wanna overline just a little bit, feel free. Nobody over here is the lip police. Do as you please. I'm gonna take a little bit of that tan walnut concealer, just a little bit, guys. A little bit goes a long way. Then you're going to take a little bit of that NYX Butter Gloss and you're going to place it on the center of your lip. I like to pat mine on like this just so I can make sure I'm not putting on too much. And I just go like that and bam! You have a very flawless, soft glam look. You can wear this out to brunch, you can wear it to a concert like I am tonight, and you are going to be flawless from day to night, I promise you. All you have to do is take that little pressed powder puff and put a little bit of loose setting powder on it and set any of those oily spaces and places on your face. I promise you, you're really not even going to get that much oily because we did that powder primer, and so you're going to be flawless for the rest of the day. Really what ties the whole soft glam look together is the nude lip, the blush, and the bronzer. Those are the key components, and if you want to take it up a notch, add some moles to your face. I like to add one right here. And there you have it, guys. That is my completed 15-minute soft glam look that can be achieved so easily for even beginners. Make sure to check out the description box for all the detailed products that I utilize, from my blush all the way to the makeup brushes and the tools that I was using. Anything that I used that was available on Amazon will be linked in my Amazon storefront, and that is the Pretty Pink Pressed Powder by Ben Nye, as well as the powder puffs. Those are both on my Amazon storefront, but everything else can be found at Sephora or Ulta. A lot of the items that I use are drugstores, so you can find them at your local Ulta. Get ready to spend no more than, what, $200 to start your makeup kit. I love you guys. I hope you guys found this helpful. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for more content like this, and let me know if you guys want me to do more tutorials. I've had some requests for some things like a skincare routine, like as well as hair tutorials. Like, just let me know what you guys want, and I can for sure sit down and make these sort of videos for you guys, because I love sitting here talking to you, telling you guys my beauty secrets. Like, I really don't have many. These are things that I found out through TikTok and just having my ear to the streets and being willing to get better and better. So practice makes perfect. It takes me 15 minutes because I've had a lot of practice with this. For you, it may take you 45, but that is totally worth it if you're gonna walk outside feeling good, avoiding flashback, and feeling like you're a soft glam baddie. You're not doing too much, nothing looks harsh, it doesn't look strong. The key word is soft. You want things to look very soft. You're just enhancing your own natural features. You don't want to walk away looking like an entirely different person. It's just meant to enhance what you already have. So I hope this tutorial was very useful for you guys. If you are interested in helping out a friend of a friend of a friend, make sure to share this tutorial with some of your girlfriends so they can start doing their own soft glam. I love you, and I'll see you next time.